Okay, today is August the 14th, 2022. In this video, what can I say? I owe this video to whom did I owe this video foremost? Foremost, I owe it to myself. Um, there was people that doubted in my mental health from abroad because of what I'm about to explain to you. They really doubted because of their own interests they had. These people incited in causing mental breakdowns to others. Such was the game, let's say, with situation with the Polish Hunger Games, where I was literally rewarded for causing people trouble because they wanted from MK Ultra staff members to be as competent as possible, handle somebody who actually handled everybody drugged up. That was a little different circumstance. Usually under MK Ultra, people would display mental breakdowns. People under MK Ultra frequently display insecurity. They display uncertainty. Under uncertainty, they display strong insecurity. And in madness they are exposed to, they very often have a tendency to get lost. And it's, from my perspective as an expert of the experts concerning MK Ultra, therefore psychiatry, psychology, impossible for them to find a way back to their previous mental state they have had basically prior to torture under MK Ultra, if they were exposed to. I have seen what exactly unstable mental state looks like because of the schoolmate I had once, and I have literally observed one destroyed before my eyes. My schoolmates, they completely decimated one, they destroyed one, and I observed how he wandered into madness due to violence, due to physical violence. And he no longer was, he just lost systematically, gradually. I don't know what went on with him also at home. But he would just, his mental health would just stagnate down until this poor guy was transferred eventually to a school for the special needs, where I was told that, I don't know, that they completely destroyed him or whatever. Definitely unfortunate to the degree when I wanted to even pay him a visitations, and was told that if you do pay him visitation, it's you who's gonna stay in there. They refer to mental disease in so-called Yugoslavia, that was a greater Serbian Chetnik state, as something contagious, something that once you get in contact with a person that has a mental disease, you're gonna contract one the same way, like, let's say today COVID is. That's because they were murdering people which had a different, opposing to UDBA. UDBA, that's a KGB basically in Yugoslavia, or like Stasi in Eastern Germany, was views, political views. Most of this politically motivated anti-system people, the system would basically trash them through mental health services. That was like one of the main tools President Josip Broz Tito regime utilized in Yugoslavia. With me, the situation was indifferent. It all started already at my age 4 when I entered the kindergarten, age 5, age 4, and they immediately began to evaluate what exactly this. Now, Master had a lot of kids whose parents were in a Yugoslav military service. And I entered this kindergarten that was basically located like in an area that predominantly had people from, I'm going to say, other parts of Yugoslavia. The main thing here was Serbia. And it's a stuff that started already at my age 4 or 5 whenever I entered the kindergarten. But the thing about me is that I didn't give much shit about, and due to very unusual circumstances, I was about as strong maybe as a kid that already would attend maybe a 2nd grade of grammar school or something like this, and I was in the kindergarten. It was a very, very unusual situation and very, very difficult for system to handle me in absolutely any way. I rejected the system already, I must proudly say, at age probably 5, and it was exactly because of the same issues that you see here. I'm going to get to this. This is a photo from the military service. I don't know, but I just didn't see myself incorporated in this Yugoslav union somehow. It's exactly what I stated to myself a little earlier when I compared physical torture that took place inside of the Novo Mesto hospital. That's a Novo Mesto General Hospital where my father was, and it's incredible when I think that inside of this hospital, which they promised me they're going to get my father into, you know, you're already talking about year 2008 and up. That's what's scary part about 2008, 2010, 2012, 2015. Parallel to the General Hospital in Novo Mesto in Slovenia, it was this home for elderly people that also was used. Okay, I seem not to find this maybe I zoomed too much inside. Anyhow, this is located more or less in this area here. Both of these locations okay, I got it. Okay, there you go. It doesn't show, it's difficult to see. That's where my father is located right now. And I did manage to identify people, understand, inside of the home for elderly people and inside of the General Hospital in Novo Mesto. The two things I have done it. What exactly I'm talking about? Okay, I'm talking about what I hoped for in English language would equal to the word, if translated from Slovenian, is življenje. Mučenje is življenje. No? It goes beyond the torture. I don't know if the harrowing is a proper word or not. The thing about it is that I would be even confined in the bed inside neurology department, exactly on the same beds they got father this time, and they had him also before. Fed literally with tube through the nose, but the thing is they wouldn't give drink, they wouldn't wet the throat, they would actually go and use the tube to scratch the throat deliberately, and demonstrated me how depends on how much food is pushed through the tube inside of your stomach, so that I would feel the difference in pain. And so when I mentioned to you earlier about the madness, the madness, that's what this video is going to be about. But this video is going to involve not only the military servicemen I was with in independent Slovenian military already, but also my family. Also my family. Since I already have spoken about what took place in front of the memorial was dedicated to the Slovenian partisans, it's time, because this was parallel done also here at home inside this house, to talk about share of everything people experienced throughout my MK Ultra presence, where basically all this, how it all come from, where all this shit appeared in my head, right? So that's what this video is going to be about. This is explanation in depth. I feel that I owe this, not only this to myself foremost, because I gotta clean myself, but also to other people, that some of them are confused, some of them are confused because they wanted to lie, some of them are just confused. Therefore, some of them acted confused because they want to look confused, but they knew exactly what went on, and some other really didn't know what the hell went on. Like I mentioned, people in let's say in Poland, when I was asked to be as tough as possible with them. I remember, let's say, Jeff Bezos, let's say, who was, it appeared to be extremely, extremely afraid of me, because I didn't act. And the scariest part about me was that I did not display insecurity other people did when they were drugged up. This is exactly the contrary was in my case. I acted with very, very logically, and I always searched for a solution to the issues, and eventually I was not in control, and it brought me into a somewhat blind street, which I do not regret. I have absolutely no regrets whatsoever about everything I have done. I am proud about, really, really proud about myself. Jeff Bezos, for me to clarify this, articulated me with Panetta, Panetta, as ex-CIA boss. They needed somebody that was Greek, and that's how Jeff Bezos got in there. They needed somebody because it was South African, and they bumped inside Elon Musk. And they needed somebody like Peter Thiel, let's say, and he flew into PayPal. And they needed people from all over the place, and that's how they were getting in this team. Some already with origins in the US. Breen, let's say, from Google, and the other guy, even from Russia. They flew them from all over the place, and they were assembling this global team. You know, that's what this Polish Hunger Games were about. And one of the most terrifying experiences one could come possibly across, according to the people, was to get into my hands, because I tested, I understand absolutely everything. At least this is how they wanted for me to be seen. But Jeff Bezos and Panetta, I think there was definitely some truth in it. Explained to me that if I will say that he have literally succumbed on his knees in front of me and begged for mercy, which was actually true, to please not exercise pressure, psychological pressure on him under MK Ultra. He will not pay his share. In other words, he faked, which most likely is the truth. They had people fake. It was a business, because this business later extended to the foreign trips, prior to which I was frequently incited to be as tough as possible with foreign delegations we would meet, talking about British Royals, Central Intelligence Agency, you name it, Western Europeans traveling to other countries, other continents, be as tough as possible. You know, I was tougher than tough, and they got seats at the table where they were capable to discuss issues that matter to them, geopolitical, economical, while their services were evaluating my mental state. I should say health. They were playing with it, and they frequently pulled the short one. That was the trick. I like to touch this mental health issue because it's extremely important to me, the issues that I have mentioned. I began to establish my mental health without knowing anything about it, what that is or what that would be, already in the kindergarten at age 4. Once I was transferred from this private carer, and I was a Serb, and the name was Tatalovic, and they used to live in Croatia, and it was exactly in that area of this kindergarten here in Novo Mesto. Otherwise, they are from, they were originally Serbs from Croatia. The comfort zone disappeared, and I found myself in this circle of kids, and it became frequent to have even 30 kids going at you physically. And so I knew that day after day going like this, it became challenging. But you're just delivered in the mornings by your parents, distributed to this kindergarten, or my sister left there, and to yourself, and that's about it. And then you'll get to watch, and that was my strength, observe others, to learn, to see, basically to find myself in a place. That's basically all kids do. Where exactly do I fit in all this? And it was all kinds of stuff. Kids shitted regularly in pants, did all kinds of stuff already, much older than myself. And I wouldn't really laugh, even that they started to encourage that kind of stuff. It was kind of weird, man, that, But then again, I was saying to myself, this is just how it functions, I suppose, that some people are like this, some people are like that. These are children, and I didn't pay much attention to that stuff till I entered uh, a grammar school, and literally the same shit repeated with eventually a schoolmate that repeated first grade, I think, maybe twice, because this guy was like 3 years older than myself and bigger than anybody, and he would go from child to child and just push and see which one is going to give him a hard time or something like that, which was like we were told in advance, God forbid, if you would, And he came to me, and I did the same thing. I didn't react. Whatever, fuck it. But he had already some kind of informants, and God knows what the hell went on too, with the teachers. And he repeated this drill. He repeated this drill to me maybe twice, 3 times. The third time he already flew across the classroom, like a pencil or something like this. I didn't agree with it no more. I did my stuff, okay, so now that you're gonna be picking up on me, fuck it. Yeah. I told him, don't try no more. And it was, yeah. And a madness from the kindergarten went on. So this was not just something random like this that would happen out of blue. They had information going, and this was just something I learned later in life, really, that brought me sometimes probably in a sixth grade, probably, into depression. Because I didn't even know what depression is or something as a child. I eventually survived day-to-day beatings of gangs, school gangs, that teachers um, gathered together for the sake of violence against me, from day to day, from day to day, from day to day. At age 9, 10, I started to have tears coming out of my mouth, out of my eyes, because I couldn't see a desk where a teacher was doing her writing. No matter how much I would try, even if I would sit in the first column, I couldn't read, because my mother would take me to the city to a physician that would give me injections to retard my growth. I was becoming bigger and bigger and stronger. All that violence did not work on me, regardless of how many kids. And it didn't have absolutely any impact on me. And so those injections were designed to retard your growth and retard your mental health. They did have a good impact on me for like up to 14 days. They would hold you semi-blind so that you could not read on a desk what the teacher is writing, and you would also have a difficulty to follow a class. Consequently, or whichever way, this was a very difficult thing to do, and scary enough for my schoolmates to actually fucking cry if they would start to ask them about me and stuff, and it would be just fear that would explode. Some of them, which they started that they don't agree with that kind of stuff, that they were trying to get me into the school for the special needs, for the children for the special needs that I mentioned earlier, and were asserting to the children, asking them ongoingly to get their approval, to get their statements. If I am overreactive, if I am there is a there is a term I'm not going to come up with right now, but it's a term that's being used, and it's classified as a mental obstacle. That some children are just too, they can't calm down or something like this, hyperactive, something in that sense. I can't come up with exact word right now. But the thing about it was that nobody was more pleasant than myself. Nobody was more cultivated. Nobody, in fact, was calmer than I was. I never ever pick on anybody. I never ever search any kind of issues. However, because the system continued to systematically destroy me, I did. If I found somebody just repeatedly going after me, I found a way to pay him back on the side. And it was concentrated in a direction of Belgrade, the whole thing. So I started to pick on people I deemed, even children I deemed were behind, had more than anybody else to do with it. Because I wanted the system to acknowledge that everything was based on a punishment. You're gonna punish for this, we're gonna punish you for that, you're gonna be punished, 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 punished. I knew nothing about fucking reward. And my in Slovenia would say, okay, school index had more grades than anybody else for every subject. Kids would probably have like 4 grades, something like this, on each quarter, maybe something like this, or actually I don't know. Yeah, maybe for each subject you would get maybe, I don't know, for every quarter, maybe something like that. I would have like I don't know, instead of 4, I would actually have like 11 or something like this, 10. It was all incredible, and it was always the lowest scores, with which they were trying to prove the point that I should be in fact placed in a school for children with special needs, but they never could prove that stuff because somehow I always managed to score enough to go past everything I have stated to you, and it was day-to-day violence. If the teacher would call me right in front of the class to demonstrate something on a table, it would be like collective like attitude that teachers demanded, just like violence against me. Teacher would start to ridicule, and the children were kind of obligated to cooperate on that issue, to destroy the stamina and that kind of stuff. But they couldn't do it. These injections went on for maybe even, I don't know, maybe even 2 years, and psychologists where teachers sent me couldn't establish anything that would give them a link based on the tests, based on the writings. They couldn't establish absolutely anything that would give them legitimate reason to transfer me into a school for the children with the special needs. My school record was another problem for these teachers because it was immaculate. I never missed any hours. So all that hyperactivity, all that stuff that they were trying with me or something, they just I realized they were trying to establish some sort of profile about me, but they could never get across that stuff. They never succeeded in doing it, is what I'm trying to say. In 6th grade of grammar school, however, this violence, I started to feel depressed about it because it didn't matter anymore. I realized that regardless of how strong you are, resistant, smart, whatever, they always get you down. I realized that this violence is being regulated, and regardless of, as I stated, they always get their way around, and they always get you down no matter what. So I started to get depressed about this stuff. uh, I started to I became philosophical about my life for the first time. Never before I started to think in a different patterns. And the teacher that was trying to prove me wrong and this and that, his name was Buja. This is the guy that was just a math teacher, a young man, a really strong guy, sportsman that was just bursting to get me on absolutely everything, everything, everything. But really, at the age 13, uh, not even 14, but at 13, when he was doing this kind of stuff in front of the kids, he called me right in front of the class. I grabbed this charcoal and fucking threw that in a table right in front of him, and I asked him what the fuck he wants. I asked him, would you want a piece of me or something like this? And this shit was unheard of. But I was actually ready to take on him. It was enough. He understood what time the love was. From that moment on, he became strictly, strictly, strictly professional, because he knew that he pushed me with my nerves to the limits that I was willing to take on him. He was bigger, older than myself. Obviously, I was 13 years old, but I wouldn't even mind doing that kind of stuff with him. That's really fucked up when you do stuff like this to the 13-year-old kid. And that's all there was. At my age 14, the teachers, schoolmates told me on several occasions, they made sure that I understand that there was so much violence exercised against me. I never landed in a school for the children with the special needs, and in fact, I was about to enter, and I did, school for mechanical engineering technician. Not that anything changed, they already had teachers there too, already handy for the next episode, but they couldn't stop me. And they were trying to play me down, they were trying to beat me down to take education that would be like 2 year more, uh, trying to destroy my confidence, trying to basically get me destroyed completely, psychologically, mentally. But it just didn't stop, boy. I was just growing, and they couldn't stop no matter what they tried to do. I continued in the same fashion as the best students in this school, which was deemed by many as the school that should not even exist. It was Osnovna škola Grm in Novo Mesto, because some of the kids that transferred from this school to another school or other schools, their grades immediately went to much higher ranks. And they were asking me about if I want to transfer to another school, and that was another thing about me. No, fuck no. I didn't want to transfer to any other school, even that it was tougher for me than any other kid. But parallel to this shit went on at home, and the shit at home was hectic, with my getting literally pointed by my father with a gun barrel, ran after me with a heave works, ran after me probably 500-600 meters to choke me in the middle of the winter once I launched out of the car, because it's the only thing it was. From the school to home, it was just that he's gonna kill me. No, that's fucked up. When somebody gets on you with a belt and is beating as much as he can beat until he gets tired, where all the branches, as case with my mother, were missing from the tree, near our house. We moved from there when I was like 9, 10 years old. But until then, there was no branches left. There was a tree, breza in Slovenian language. It's like a white tree that had no fucking branches. And it was funny when relatives were coming, and it seemed like funny to them. Kids couldn't understand why my legs were all bruised during gym inside of the grammar school and so on. So the shit at home, I think, was in a complete agreement with the system itself. My father also wanted to put me in a school for the kids with the special needs. But when I wanted to go to out of the house at age 15, once I already entered the high school, therefore, I wanted to go to, because of this, because just he just repeated me that he doesn't want me at home. And there was this place in Krško and another one in Ljubljana. Actually, this was already in a grammar school, but grammar school I didn't do it. But once it was about the high school, I was interested in going in there, and I didn't want to be at home anymore because of what I stated. Once I wanted to depart from home, it was, first of all, mother would not allow me to call the police on my father due to his violence, due to his rage, because claimed it's going to be even worse. They're going to take your daddy away, and so on and so forth, and then it's going to be difficult. And once I wanted to depart home, it was the same shit. Don't go, and this and that, and tra 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 tra. And this is how it went, basically. And they got themselves as an alibi a private teacher who eventually name was Rudi Moravec, and have realized there was nothing wrong with me, but it was everything wrong with school settings and with home. But became my personal friend eventually. I have spoken about one, and I think unfortunately he sticked a little bit for too long around and got cancer, whichever way. Probably they sipped him a pill during Russians, presence of Russians in our house. I strongly suspect that's what it was, that they did something to him. This is a much older man, a teacher himself, who liked me, and I liked him a lot, and he's just gone, whatever. And what I was gonna say, I came to realize that when I connect myself to this situation in a hospital and in a home for elderly people where my father is, because I was just asking myself so many times, I said to myself, what the fuck were you trying to accomplish with all this stuff, you know? What were you guys trying to accomplish with this kind of stuff? What were you up to? I mean, these are the pictures in a little bit I'm going to discuss. Also some of this family pictures. And that's what is actually related to. That's one issue, because under MK Ultra, beatings in front of the partisan memorials that started in 1995 on a day one, where Berger, Sosset, neighbor, and Gradišar, Cveto Gradišar, a psychiatrist who came to hospitalize me in 2013 with my mother. He walked from Berger to home residence, and I video recorded him, and they deleted me. They went through it. Had somebody else that was of the biggest assistance to them when it comes to neo-Nazi issues, and that was my family, no other than my family. One thing was beating in front of the partisan memorials, where they claimed something about me that I had nothing to do with it. and something completely different was the behavior I have encountered from my family, system synchronized with the beatings at the same time, basically. Why I took the direction I did is basically what this video is about. That's what this video is about. But the core of this video, and I'm going to repeat one at a later point, it's the biggest realization I came to, is that the system did not change for the last 47 years. What I talked to you about, a kindergarten, how they were doing this kind of stuff, and how it all ended in a grammar school, when they told me, and I completed despite all the troubles in high school. I became maintenance mechanic, and then also mechanical engineering technician in exactly the same fashion as in a grammar school, through physical violence and a teacher that would not let me pass no matter what, and was causing me a trauma, big one, till again it happened the same thing, and I crumbled the fucking charcoal in front of the classroom again, and I started to challenge her with complaint to executive of the school at Societățul Novo Mesto. That's this huge high school, and also sort of university, because I claimed that I know more about the subject than she does, and I'm willing and will go to the executive of the school and will demand him being present while she questions me, while to test me or question me in front of him, so that I can get her fired. That's basically how it all ended. Eventually she couldn't stop me either, and it did happen so that I did score high scores. She did made me fail one grade, and afterwards apologized. We became even friends. But this is how it was. But what I want to do is I want to concentrate on the issue that I started just a little earlier. System did not change for the last 47 years. What started in kindergarten and I thought was finalized in a grammar school at age 13 and 14, when I was told by the schoolmates and teachers that they exercised so much violence, physical violence against me, that I would not be capable to drive throughout the life. That was a Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, the Greater Serbian Chetnik state. Continued. You see, I was asking myself, what the fuck was this all about, that they had me in a general hospital, a department for neurology, and claimed me I'm going to be in exactly the same way when I get old, that I'm going to have problem cardiovascular with the heart, and when I get old that I'm going to be exactly like my father. With torture they performed on me, and I had to return to visit my father afterwards. It was used in a big way to remind me what I was promised through the torture, when I was repeatedly tortured inside of the, physically tortured, hijacked from home, repeatedly hijacked from home, from this residence, or even from psychiatric hospital Ljubljana Polje, where they threw me in 2013. I realized that stuff they were doing to me, is you're talking about very, very, very heavy physical torture. If I have you locked for weeks on the bed, restrained, and you receive the food through your nose, through the tube, And I'm using a tube to actually scratch the area. It's completely dry. And I think it was actually done in such a way that when they were giving me food, that they might have actually even pulled deeper inside. So then I received the food, and then it was pulled out again. The nurses would go and use a tube and go like this to literally scratch inside. You know what it is, what it feels like when you have a pain in your throat. I'm sure when you have a severe pain in your throat. Now imagine somebody, if you have a pain in your throat, a severe pain in your throat, and somebody keeps coming to you and is basically scratching that area with a tube so that you have more pain in your throat. So when I said earlier that they push this stuff the same like they're doing now to father to through the nose, they used to, and then he received straight into a stomach this tube because he wouldn't allow this procedure anymore. Um, you can only possibly imagine what the fuck this is. This is not even like what can you basically this was based on exactly what exactly you can create out of the hospital element. Always with the police presence. They always had a police presence. They always had a police officers guarding, or they had also, if they were not capable to stand the special detail, they also had full-time security company that would accompany these procedures, and this shit went on periodically for many years. My father is inside of the hospital because I was told it will all depend on me. In other words, if I'm going to talk nice about them, it's even better to die than to come home. This is an insurance policy from Slovenian state, and at the same time a death threat issued to me when it comes to the father's stay inside the hospital and now inside the home for elderly people, which my parents alone insisted. They wanted to get me inside the home for elderly people, actually straight to Ljubljana to psychiatric hospital first. Already in 1997, they didn't want to see me trafficked anymore from United States of America to Slovenia. They wanted me to stay here at all costs, get me inside the psychiatric hospital Ljubljana Polje. My parents made plan with Igor Kotar, with a neighbor, and from there they would get me inside of the home here for elderly people in Novo Mesto. So at the age 25, no matter what, they wanted to just destroy me, rip me apart. It's like a little bit hard to imagine, right? Somebody comes with a car, throws you in the back of the car and takes you in some kind of psychiatric hospital and doesn't let you out anymore. Pumps you up with some kind of ingredients, whatever. And his family, his surrounding doesn't know anything about it, and you just disappear in that system. Well, this also is the stuff we're going to be talking about today. This is the stuff we're going to be talking about today. So, the system did not change, for one thing, for the last 47 years. A cancer, spine breaking, God bless so-called Slovenia and Serbia and Russia who did this shit. They got also a hold of Polish government that gave them a tremendous support in it, and even Czech Republic and Slovakia. God bless in hell. You understand? I have to be specific about it. God bless. You fucking satans. There is no God in this. God doesn't have much to do with it. I thank God, not for my unconquerable soul, whatever, but I just thank God that I was capable, that I was worthy to walk in his, well, that I was allowed to go, to step in his footprints, basically. That was the only thing that I ever had that really was everywhere with me, 24/7, wherever they took me for whatever. Other than that, when it comes to Slovenia, this is a despicable country and despicable nation. This here, this is what I dedicated to the beatings in front of the partisan memorials. Partisan memorials is beatings, torture started already in 1995. You're talking about stuff like this. This started first in an area, as I already have explained, and they would take me throughout entire Slovenia whenever they would commemorate Second World War national resistance against the Nazi Germany and fascist Italy. They would bring me to locations like this in front of the partisans, veterans, and Milan Kuč and Borut Pahor wanted to demonstrate what the new neo-Nazis look like, and I was the one used, you know, as an example, as a new threat to people of Slovenia, because it became independent from a Yugoslavia, from greater Serbian Yugoslav Chetnik state, basically. So they wanted to present this new threat, and they did. With a silicone mask over my face, I was subjected to beatings, torture, humiliation, which I frequently have fired back with insults, with threats in their faces, repentlessly threatened them, humiliated them, spitted them. But they always got their way with the fists. They always managed to handle me physically with the beatings, which is a really, really, really disgrace, especially for the individual whom my neighbors, Bergers, told me, you can talk about anybody you want, but don't talk about this man. Well, this man, his name is Janez Stanonik. What I can say is that this is the guy eventually who appeared, knew nothing, had nothing to do with it, didn't want to have nothing to do with it. But here's the thing, did not want to have nothing to do with it after they have denigrated, after they have insulted my predecessors, anywhere from grandfather, who was a secretary of the National Resistance in the Novo Mesto during the World War II. He was more than this guy you see right there. He did more for these people here of Slovenia than this guy that you see right there. He carried his head 24/7 with a family already at a rail station in the Novo Mesto in Candia, which already was designated for the Auschwitz extermination camp at one point. Okay, so likewise on my mother's side, where her brother was killed in a battle with the Germans, they finally found the ultimate Nazi, so they could get a hold of it, so they would remind them of what it was, the fight, the pledge against the Nazism, against the fascism in Slovenia, how it will be. And this was the man who ran the show, Milan Kuč. He has no regrets, no shame, nothing whatsoever. Mentor of Borut Pahor, who did most of the stuff for him whenever he couldn't. And I don't have to go to the classics of the Serbia war criminals such as Karadzic, psychiatrist from Serbia, involved in this case since 1995, whom I have managed to eventually bring into Hague on a trial. He complained about my deploring his mental health state enough to commit crimes. Milosevic was indifferent, and several others. Just want you to see this stuff. Now, when I explained the issue behind this partisan memorials, I'm going to say to you what had a detrimental impact on me, in fact, was this stuff here. It was not even beatings, it was not even the torture, humiliation that started on the first day of MK Ultra. Bigger, much bigger impact on me that you possibly could imagine had the family of my own at home. Where I was brought from these beatings, just to be humiliated some more. I'm sure you can see it. Acknowledged as a neo-Nazi by my family, family of my own, basically, who expressed at their first opportunity a total disgust in respect to my attitude, and then they proudly displayed me in an album on why, everything turned against me the way it did. They have absolutely nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing to do with it. Well, listen to me. They had enough to do with it for me to draw a final decision in 1996 to destroy them indefinitely for their crime against me. So to equal them with whatever Mr. Stanonik, whatever Mr. Milan Kuč, whatever Mr. Boris Pahor, Mrs. Tanja Fajon, the big stars we see today, so-called communists, Yugoslav communists, previously known as the Yugoslav communists, have rated me with, actually labeled, branded me with, a Nazi. So since I was a Nazi, since I was taken not only at the partisan memorials, but from house to house, spit at, bitten up, and rated, I guess, with my family of my own. No, this is just tip of the iceberg. This what you see right here, this stuff here that you see, this already appeared once they did this here. This was one of the biggest. This was bigger, actually. These are the issues that were much bigger issues to me than anything else. This here that I'm about to demonstrate you. They wanted to make me mentally ill because I rated and it sure was. She really was very severely mentally ill. She was rated by American psychologist Daniel Rex Smith as a mentally ill. These people knew psychology. This is my niece, Urška Golob Weber, in 1995 started like this. As soon as she saw me drugged up, her uncle, Matjaž Golob, these people wanted to psychologically break me down by subjecting me to more beatings and terror than anybody else did involved in MK Ultra. All the mental illness I have eventually labeled her with, she was acknowledged as a mentally ill person by the psychiatrists, not only from abroad, but also by the psychiatrists and psychologists involved in MK Ultra case from Slovenia, who desperately were trying to correct her behavior, hatred in her against me, and they just couldn't. Now she had a first time opportunity in her life to stress all her mental illness issues on me. Thanks to American Central Intelligence Agency, I appeared as a jucked up. And there you have it. Worst because her facial characteristics are very similar to the facial characteristics of what is known as Anne Frank. That was a Jewish girl whom Nazis got into the concentration camp. And that kind of problem triggered problem with Israeli state, who got involved also in this case in 1995. You see, they started to see my niece as a victim, and they started to see me as an abuser. Israel caused a fair share of crime against me. Israel caused me a big fucking problem. You see this here? This is what Israeli state did. This is what Benjamin Netanyahu did. Till Benjamin Netanyahu learned that they are trolling him, and it's going to be the Israeli state, the one whose neck will go on a plate, literally. Then it became all different. Once he realized what they were doing behind his back, behind the back of the Israeli state, things changed. But until then, my niece traveled to the state of Israel with me through this case like a royalty, was received in Tel Aviv like a royalty. Israelis in Tel Aviv were excited about meeting her, expressing a totally supportive toward this thing here, toward this shit here. Here you can see my aunt, a mother of my cousin. Will probably be the bestest thing here to demonstrate this. This is my cousin. Oh, we're gonna do it like this. Who used to call me, refer to me as a brother of his. And I loved kids. I play with the kids. Here you can see him posing in my military uniform. I didn't give a fuck. I would give you anything. It's something that Harry and William from London liked about me, because I love children, kids. They also liked me. And so this here, did you see right there? This was to me as saint, as my own mother, or as my own brother. Did you see right there? But what you see on that picture that I demonstrated you is something that have substituted me in a heart of my aunt with something I deemed, and many other people, as mental illness. And once my aunt did exactly what you see here, once my mother did exactly even maybe even worse than what you see right there. For instance, this shirt is the shirt I have taken documentary of today before I
Ah, there
started
you
this
go.
filming. You see it?
My mother said the shirt for me. That's very, very nice of her. Oh,
Florida, it says right there, Florida. This is what I purchased for my mother, and
here
I
it
also
is.
purchased for my sister,
This
and I
is the
purchased
shirt.
for my aunt. I purchased them
Trash,
shirts and
garbage.
stuff, and then what I
She
did
also
was I
placed
sent
one
them
as a
by mail.
garbage, and at one point
Immediately
I
in
used one even as
1996 I did this, maybe even in
to
1995,
swipe
I
the
don't know.
floor with
Once I
it.
came to Miami,
Little I
I did
knew that
exactly
I'm gonna
what you see
find this
this. I
shirt.
miss them so much. I love you, mommy, my aunt, my sister. I love you, everybody. I fucking love you. And then you're hijacked by the Central Intelligence Agency and brought maybe just as fast as the shirts. It was just weeks that was separate. And then all of a sudden, you see the shirt. And you see some other stuff that I demonstrated you. All of a sudden, you see drugged up some completely different other issues appear in the picture that you possibly could not believe that it's gonna something like this is gonna be happening to you, and it's actually happening to you, whether you like it or not. It's actually happening to you. You see this? This is no Anne Frank. This is my niece, and her name is Urszka Golob Weber. And this niece was rated as a mentally ill, incapable to confront me absolutely anywhere. They dreamed about some show, TV show they would have and stuff. But the mental illness was so prevailing in her case that nothing like this would come in consideration. With the great assistance of psychiatrists and psychologists, she somehow managed to collect herself psychologically enough to be presentable in front of other people in year 1999. That is whenever she would come anywhere close to me. They started the treatment, they started rehabilitating her, they got her boyfriend, future husband. But until then, this was a mental wreck. And not because of me. She had completely other issues. Her father, for instance, would lock her inside of the toilet for extensive amounts of time, at times even for several hours, because of the crazy character she had. She displayed the character of the lunatic, not only with me but also with other people. And because of such character, I didn't want to have anything to do with it. I rated her as crazy, as insane, and mind my own business basically. Whenever she came, I didn't want to have anything to do with it. I just wanted to mind my own business. That's all it was. Because it wasn't about mental illness, it was about evil in her. That's what bothered the most. She, however, got the support from London, from the British, from the Buckingham Palace, from the Prince Charles. Because it was Prince Charles who needed stuff like this, maybe even more than anybody else. He had his plans with me, and those plans started against me already in 1995 with beatings in the city known as Reading, not too far from London, where he would get a mayor and they would start to abuse me again with beatings, bully me, challenge me, literally almost to unconscious. For what they later claimed, several years later, they claimed me it was a necessary part to do because of the stuff you will have to undergo in Slovenia. So this was like a necessary part we do. So for you to be, it's like a training procedure. I don't know if there's anything else to explain to you about this. I'm gonna post the photos right below my. Um, that's my niece told me she's gonna help me out by getting me this kind of album where the pictures are gonna be stored. You should see right there. Yeah. But I'm sorry, when it comes to my family, I don't have anything else. I don't have anything good to say. This guy here got married to my cousin. There you go. This man right here, you see? He got on the picture, I don't know, in 99, 98. The only thing I'm gonna say is that the day he saw me, he did not even knew me before. The only thing he did was he launched in my face physically. That here, this is my cousin, and what you see right there, this is actually my uncle and my aunt right there. I am sorry, but I don't have any family I possibly could say, well, wow. His son, Marko Jasnic, needed a job, needed a lot of other stuff, and you probably can imagine how all that stuff ended before it even, according to his opinion, started, because he was convinced that the two of us, we're gonna work out something together. He was 100% certain that the two of us, we somehow will work together something with one another. But he have somehow forgotten about his son's conduct. So I'm gonna remind this that this video is to clean my name. This video is to point out who was behind this stuff, who the fuck destroyed me. Why did I in 1996 rated my family as a subhuman beings? Why I wanted my family destroyed in the same fashion like Nazis destroyed people during the Second World War. It's everything logical. The one who started something that did not exist in front of the memorials dedicated to the partisans was my neighbor Miroslav Berger, psychiatrist Petar Gradišar, Zoran Muja from Ljubljana. They had other team of people here from the vicinity of the Novo Mesto. Well, everything was run by Milan Kuč, by Borut Pahor. And it was exactly my family. It was exactly my family that came to rescue. To what I have stated through the most disgusting ways possibly you can imagine. And you cannot imagine anything more disgusting, anything more treacherous than what I stated to you in this video. And this, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that were hurt, is how the neo-Nazism in my case started. During the beatings in front of the partisan memorials, in front of the houses of people in Slovenia, all through. Now, it became clear to me that Germany and Italy lost World War II with Japan when I was at the age 6 probably. I began to believe due to amount of violence that the World War II did not end it, because I had to find the refuge for my mind to preserve the sanity. I had to believe there is some kind of force, there is some kind of power, there is some kind of justice in this world that these people are going to meet. Because what I have seen with my own eyes went above the movies I have seen on a big screens about the World War II. And it was the stuff that went on with me in front of my eyes when I was brought to Slovenia. So I just want you to understand that about 80% of this neo-Nazi shit, garbage, four. One, my own family is deserved, because it was my family that started to behave, I'm gonna say, not funny. This is not funny, but this is this is very, very wrong. This is very, very, very inappropriate. This is very, very mentally ill if I touch Prince Charles. This is not the way you do it. This is not whom you should protect. This is not how you treat people, human beings. This is not how you do it. This is not the way you do it. You understand? This is not how you fucking do to a human being. This is not how you do with the people. You don't get this kind of gift for your graduation. You don't do it like this with the people, with the human beings. But this is what my life was. I just want you to understand what 28 years, last 28 years of life was wasted on. Next to all other issues I already have stated in my blog. What the fuck it means to infect somebody with a cancer and play with him and break his legs with the shoes and bring him on a brink of broken spine till you push him to that last job, so that you accomplish basically job that you, employment of any kind that you decline him for so many years, and so that you accomplish complete breakdown of the human being. What the fuck is this? What kind of justice is this? That's why I said there is no place for a nation, not only for a country like Slovenia, but for a nation like this anywhere among other nations. The only place for a nation like this is in hell. Now, you got support from Poland. Poland even went to give you a hand in crime against me. They feel the urge to do something as disgusting as this. A Czech Republic, a Slovakia gave you support. They gave you a hand. But it's important for me to know today that the world knows exactly who was behind this, how this stuff was done, in what way this stuff was done, with a precision. Because this issue about the mental illness, this needs to be clarified, it needs to be known to the last millimeter. Who was behind this stuff? Who did this stuff? How this stuff was done? Why this Nazism? Why this hatred? Where this came from? Yeah? Yeah? So I'm gonna post those photos right below that you can see, that you're gonna be able to see these photos. Something to be really, really proud about. You see my sister right there, you see it, with my mother, with a shirt. I don't know about the sister, but it could be that even she had the shirt I sent.
The shirt for me, that's very, very nice of her.
No, I'm gonna play you this. Today's August 14, 2022.
Ah, there you go.
She plays this.
My mother said the shirt for me. That's very, very nice of her. Here it is. This is the shirt. A trash, a garbage.
This is what
She
I
also
spend my
placed
money
one
on
as a
when I came to
garbage,
the
and at one
US.
point I used one even as a to swipe the floor with it. Little I knew that I'm gonna find this shirt actually
Americans
inside of the
were laughing at me.
family album. I'm
They
gonna
were
demonstrate
laughing
you.
at me. They were laughing at me for this reason. They were laughing at me. They had something to laugh about. This actually really is laughable. It's laughable stuff. It's laughable stuff. I'm not really sure whether this was the shirt that I sent, but this was also what my sister wore at the same time when my mother wore that shirt. And you're gonna see in the back of this, oh, this picture was taken today. That's what the psychiatrist Kuč promised me, that some are going to be slim, slender, and some are going to be taking medications. That's going to be you if you see this picture under MK Ultra. And the name of the magazine is a Boom Humor. Yeah, a Boom Humor. Actually, now it's a Humor. Now it used to be Boom because it would be Boom. You see, 97, 96. 96, 96 most, 96. Yeah, this already was in 96. And this was way before I went to the US. This was a military picture. I don't think anybody was as proud as myself to have become a soldier in finally Slovenian military. I was the first generation of Slovenian military draft. This goes to year, I think 1992. I'm not even sure. I gotta see 91, 92, I don't know. Upon the independence of Slovenia in 1992, probably. There must have been a date, whatever it is. It doesn't really matter. They tried with the same shit as they did to me in a grammar school. And on this picture, also you cannot see well. There were some guys that ended up with stuff under their eyes. We had some Chetniks and a lot of Udba guys here that did not like this kind of uniforms, but if you remember my life, I was so proud like never before to have served in a Slovenian uniform. So Milan Kuč, Borut Pahor, the only thing they did was they involved the boys you see right here in MK Ultra, every one of them. And the only thing they did is basically they repeated this thing here. Even this. They even involved military man I served with in Slovenia. That's why I don't give a fuck about. It doesn't have much effect on me, this stuff, because I feel they humiliated the uniform. Once you do the stuff like this, I don't think you no longer are part of something. And what Milan Kuč and Borut Pahor hoped for, once everybody does to someone something like this, he no longer will feel part of the nation. And that's why they have done this. They obviously figure out that if they won't be capable to destroy me, at least they're going to make me feel like I'm not part of this nation. And I gotta say, this nation is definitely not what I'm part of it. This is a disgusting nation. I'm disgusted. I don't see myself in any of this in any way. I don't possibly believe that any human being should see himself in something like this. because for human being to see himself or herself in something human related, it's got to be just that. It's got to be at least somewhat human. It's got to be at least human, not a traitor, let's say, or traitors. So let this be a lesson to everybody on why my case grew up into extreme like this, how it all happened, who was deserved for it. And let me remind you, system in Slovenia did not change anything for the last 47 years. It's no different as the one was in a greater Chetnik Yugoslav state 47 years ago. As I stated, at age 13 and 14, when I was told in grammar school, this here, this is a grammar school I attended, that they had done so much violence against me. And the violence did not stop in grammar school. It went on through the high school and even in the military. That you would not be able to carry on through the life with it so much harm to you that you're not going to be capable to carry on through your life. Yeah, that's exactly what Novo Mesto General Hospital rehearsed with me time and again. Last time in the year 2017, and even home for elderly people where my father is located. Last time in 2017. What a shame. They still work according to exact same principles they commenced 47 years ago in my case, and yet they have not managed to make any progress against me. Absolutely any progress against me. Things are just coming worse and worse and worse. Yeah, you would love to think for me, but it's not. This was recorded, ladies and gentlemen, on August the 14th of 2022. And I am proud to say that everything is being explained in respect to Nazism. I will never ever forget the day. Never will forget the day. You know, when it comes to mental state, when it comes to mental health. I'm never going to forget the day when I decided right outside I was right in front of the terrace below, a sunny day. We'll never forget one. My parents, my sister, my niece, they were bargaining for me to classify them, throw them in the same category as I threw already other Slovenian people. What the fuck that's supposed to mean? That year before? No. Three years before, you hold gun in your hands, ready to step in front of the tanks of the enemy to die for these people. 3 years after, you have some ladies, some fucking nobodies, vagabonds, laughing at you in Slovenia, spitting in you in some villages and shit. humiliating you in front of the memorials in your what should be independent country and so on. What the fuck that's supposed to mean? You explain to me what the fuck that's supposed to mean. I'm asking the Slovenian people as a nation what the fuck that's supposed to mean. What kind of hooliganism is this? They talked to me something about that I owe some kind of apology. Yeah, you're gonna get apologies from me. Sure, you're gonna get apologies from me. Sure, you're gonna get apologies from me. Just keep waiting. They no longer wanted to be seen different. I felt. So they became completely impossible, obnoxious in '96. I tolerated a lot of abuse, and the day came when I threw my own family in the same rank as I did other people. And I started to be abusive. I started to look for absolutely everything I possibly could in using exactly the same concept as my niece have, as the people that they did to me stuff in front of the partisan memorials. For which they claim, by the way, no, you have not said yet, but you will. You understand? You have not said yet. I never said this. No, you have not said yet, but you will. Ha ha ha. Thanks for watching this video. Till next time.